G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle. This has been a surprisingly difficult video to put together so far. I think 4 attempts at recording it, and I still haven't quite hit the tone. I ended up rambling and going off in about 100 different directions, so I'm going to try and boil this down as succinctly as I can today. So obviously people are well aware, as per the video you're seeing in the background, text-to-speech. The very famous Warhammer-related webcomic is going down the gurgler. The reason why is because Games Workshop's intellectual property guidelines have a blanket ban on any productions that involve anything that could be tangentially related to their intellectual property, which is laughable in and of itself because they simply don't own all the things they like to pretend they do. And if they were called upon it in a court of law, they'd be screwed. Reference previous videos I've done referring to, say, the Chapter House lawsuit, where I went through sort of even only 5% of a surface dive into that one, and pointed out, they were trying to copyright things like Roman numerals on shoulder pads. Shoulder pads themselves, the word pauldrons, the word halberd and the use of halberd on models. Like, very generic terms, as well as the fact that Games Workshop obviously stole every idea they've ever had from someone else practically. Say what you want about that statement, but end of the day, you can't tell me Adeptus Arbites are not, judges from Judge Dredd. You can't tell me that the term Space Marine is an iconic thing that they alone thought of in the 1980s, the late 1980s when Rogue Trader came out, as opposed to all that other fiction and science fiction that came out prior to that point in time. No. They're very unique. Orcs, definitely not popularized by Tolkien. Same with elves and dwarves and the way we see them in Western culture now. No. All Games Workshop, all them. Obviously full of crap. The intellectual property guidelines are an interesting thing because they blanket ban several things, don't include artwork, imagery, footage, copied from any Games Workshop source, yada yada yada. Look, most of this really boils down to please don't. Okay, you have to check the laws in your own country, but keep in mind most of this in most countries is please don't. It's not you cannot. And there's a big difference between those two terms. You cannot means if you do this, we will sue you. Please don't is you can do this, but we're bluffing you to try and make you not do this because we don't want you to compete with us. It's a big difference. Now, what makes it even harder to read through this is that there are some lines in there that are you cannot do this lines. And they are correct in those. For example, our products must not be reproduced and sold. By law, that is protected. Counterfeit models is illegal. However, imitation models, our products must not be imitated. Well, as I just said, they imitated everyone else. That's a please don't. So it makes it very difficult, obviously, to navigate through this. And where a lot of people are falling down is any of this stuff, you cannot do animations, you cannot do not include artwork, do not do yada yada yada. Individuals must not create fan films or animations based on our settings and characters. These are only to be created under license from Games Workshop. They cannot enforce that because they legally can't enforce that. Pretty much globally. You have every right to make whatever the hell you want. You just can't necessarily sell that. But if you put it on YouTube for free, they could ask YouTube to take it down, and YouTube are very wary when it comes to copyright claims. They will more often than not just take things down, but you can appeal it, and then Games Workshop can try and sue you, and that's sort of the situation that text-to-speech is in, where they're like, look, we don't want to go through that rigmarole, therefore we're just going to pull the pin. And that's a shame, because not only are they making animations based on that the characters and settings, but they're doing it in parody, and that is protected heavily under law. It's why you can take or copy essentially characters from other works and then just wholesale flip the character about for purposes of parody. It's a well-respected thing to do, and many Hollywood movies have done this to great acclaim. You get a Robin Hood Men in Tights. You get a Spaceballs. These kind of films. So, yeah, they've dug themselves a hole. Now, what's the shame here is I've been warning people of this growing concern of mine for years. And like I said, this intellectual property thing, 2-3 months ago now, I put up a video talking about this very problem, saying like, look, this is a problem. And yet here we are. So, the big takeaway for me is, what are people going to do about it? Because this always interests me. So, there's a few points I want to raise on this. First point is first. Do not go and harass your staff in the local games workshops. Most of those staff are pretty poorly paid. They're hobbyists like you and I. They're there because they're just doing a job. They want to pay their bills and they're trying to get a job doing something they like. Or maybe even love. And yep, there are some dick managers out there. They exist too. But look, most of these decisions come from people in suits. They come from people in suits who have no understanding of models and the franchise, and they could not give less shits. They couldn't tell you a Space Marine from a Sigmar Warrior. A Golden Man next to an Ultramarine would look exactly the same to these simps. They're not there to tell you the difference between the two. They're there to figure out how to maximize the money coming in the door. Those are the people you need to target. And when I say that is not a, go out and grab your rifle. No, they're the people whose attention you need to grab. Going in and yelling and screaming and cursing and all this at your local Games Workshop staff member is going to achieve zero, apart from making that person feel like crap and cop the brunt of the criticism that really should be directed to people far above them within the company. So let's just not do that in the first place, okay? Secondly, people are talking about a boycott. A boycott of Games Workshop is not an easy thing to do, because the people who are already in this hobby are very easily persuaded to buy more shit. That's the crux of it. The amount of times people said, I'm done with Games Workshop, only to buy the next big box that came out because, wow, it's so great value, oh my god, the models are so cool. People are very easily provoked into those spending habits because Games Workshop has kind of mastered the art of selling things to people that way. They know how to exploit the FOMO. They know how to exploit these attitudes, these bad tendencies of individuals. And a boycott right now, after the Beast Snaggers launch, like, what's the next big box set that's going to launch? I don't know. They might have previewed something already. I don't know. I don't care. But it's probably going to come in 2 months' time, 3 months' time. That's enough time for people to save up for it and for a bit of the hate to die down. And, then boycott, yeah, by then, they expect a drop off. And they say it. If you read their financial reports, they say to the shareholders, yeah, we're going to get a drop in this quarter. And then it'll pick up again before Christmas. They literally say that because they know it. Because they know the actions, the consequences of their actions, I should say. And so the shareholders won't care. So you can't just boycott them. It's not that easy. And I mean, we tried. We had 8,000 people sign a petition to Games Workshop about their terrible regional pricing practices, where instead of charging a conversion rate on their products, whether you bought in store, whether you bought online, whatever, they charged just a flat increased price on products, which meant globally you got shafted. So you come to a place like Australia and we pay 60% more for an exactly identical product. If I order from Forge World in the UK, why am I getting charged more? There is no one in Australia working for that company who's involved in the handling of the product, in the shipping of the project. No brick and mortar store in Australia that I'm having to fund any warehouse, any staff working in that warehouse in Australia. No. It came from the UK. So you could, that staff member who packaged that, one box he ships from Nottingham across to, Sussex. No, that's a UK place. Sends that same model to Sussex. That person pays, let's say, £40 for it. He then sends that same model to Australia, and the Australian is paying $140 for it. And it's the exact same model, packed by the same person, and we paid the same shipping, and they just pocketed all that extra money. Not to mention, for years, we caught them on this very channel. They were basically siphoning off additional tax money because all the models they listed on their website were priced with taxes, European taxes, that cannot be charged to people outside the European Union, included in the price. Well, those taxes are significantly higher than the taxes in my own country. Did they make up the difference to me? No, they just did a flat currency conversion, and that's what we got. So they shaft people. We know this. So how do you go to a company who ignores your petitions, ignores your emails, ignores all this? Well, I have an answer for you. We're going to write them a letter. Oh, no, but you just said they ignore your emails. Yeah, that's right. They ignore your emails. I mean a letter, a physical letter. This is my plan. This is my community plan. Here's the idea. Write them a letter raising your concerns. And these are the things you have to do. You have to give your basics. Name, address, phone number if you want a response. An account number if you've got one. You want to talk about the date you sent it. Explain the problem. Give a history of your efforts to resolve this problem with the company, whether you've emailed them in the past or other issues you might have. Tell them how you want them to resolve the problem. Be reasonable. Don't swear. Stay on target. You mail them that complaint. But we don't just mail them letters, guys. That's just too easy. No. And this is legal. At least where I'm from, this is legal, what I'm going to tell you to do. Old White Dwarf magazines. Sprues. Things like that. Stick them in the envelope. Mail them those. You're not sending them refuse. You're simply sending back products you've consumed from them. There is nothing wrong with returning a product to the originating company. So if you've decided that Games Workshop's no longer for you and you have a lot of stuff sitting around that you no longer want, why don't you send them that? Let them know what your account name is in the online store and close your account. When physical items end up coming through the door in big, bulky packages full of sprues being returned to the company that manufactured them, full of White Dwarf magazines, when all of this starts to happen, then they have to notice. They can't just click delete and throw it in the recycle bin in their email account. No. They have a physical product there now. And yep, it's probably going to suck for the guy on the ground who's receiving these letters. But believe me, they're going to know they got them. This isn't just a case of those emails just going off into a black hole on the internet. No, they have to do something with them, whether it's putting them in a bin. They're going to get them. Then they have to listen. They've forced our hand. I was going to say your hand, but it's our hand, because we're all in this together. They've forced our hand to the point as a company where I couldn't even get a response on that 8,000 person petition. I sent it to Games Workshop headquarters in US, Australia, UK, European Union. I tried sending it to investor relations, all sorts of things. I didn't get a single response. All right? So I've gone down the fair and reasonable route with them. I've tried other emails talking to the company in the past about issues, and as you would know from the petition, I was very even-handed and above board with my list of grievances. I didn't just go in there all guns blazing, swearing my F's and C's. No. And they couldn't even respond because they didn't care. As far as they're concerned, the customer is only there to consume product and leave. They're not there to create a welcoming environment for people into the hobby. So I think it's time we give them back some of their products that we no longer appreciate. Now, if 95% of that sprue happens to be empty, that's a damn shame, but you're letting them know. You're giving them something physical. They have to do something with it. And yeah, like I said, it may suck for the people on the floor, but the people on the floor receiving the mail are damn sure going to let the people above them know just how much mail they've got. Physical mail has a way of getting people's attention. It's funny like that. And when you start letting them know things like, hey, this was my account name on Games Workshop's web store, the account I just closed, and you've lost my business forever, you do that, they'll listen. So that's the plan. You send them a letter, you tell them who you are, you tell them what your account was, why you're closing it, how they've let you down as a customer, why you feel let down as a customer, why you're leaving. And you do it politely and succinctly, and you stick to the points. And you return a little product with it. Like I said, an old white dwarf, something like that. You're returning it to the company you bought it from because you're not happy with the quality of the product you received. That's fair, isn't it? I mean, especially if you bought one of those new Mechanicum codexes. I mean, they just superseded the thing with the FAQ they're about to bring out that nerfs the hell out of the Skitarii. So, that's the route I'm suggesting people head down. It is not illegal. You're returning a product to the company that it originated from that you're not happy with. Perfectly legal. What's wrong with that? That's your consumer right, isn't it? And if they don't listen to you, so be it. You've already decided to leave them if you're sending this letter in the first place to them. And it will probably mean more to them than just nameless, faceless people on the internet saying, I'm not going to shop with you anymore. Physical media has a way of doing that with people. So that's my suggestion. That is my plan. Send them back some of the stuff you bought from them. Let them know how much you appreciate their actions. Make it the outer circle. Thank you all for watching. Shame it's gone this way. I'll see you on the next one.